అందరికీ నమస్కారం. మా ఈ మరో స్పెషల్ ఎపిసోడ్‌కి స్వాగతం. ఇవాల్టి స్పెషల్ ఎపిసోడ్‌లో మాతో పాటు జర్నలిస్ట్ అండ్ ఫిల్మ్ క్రిటిక్ సంగీత దేవి గారున్నారు. షీ ప్రొఫెషనల్లీ రైట్స్ ఫర్ ద హిందూ. సో, ద రీజన్ వై వి అప్రోచ్ సంగీత గారు అనేవన్నీ పాడ్‌లో ఉన్నాయి. సో, బిఫోర్ వి గెట్ దేర్ ఒక చిన్న ట్రివియా చెప్పాలనుకుంటున్నాను. దేర్ ఈస్ దిస్ పర్సన్ కాల్డ్ అంకుర్ వారికో. ఆయన ట్విట్టర్ అండ్ యూట్యూబ్‌లో చాలా ఫేమస్ అనమాట. హి ఈస్ ఎన్ ఏంజెల్ ఇన్వెస్టర్ అండ్ ఎన్ అడ్వైజర్ ఆఫ్ సార్ట్స్. ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్ మీద అండ్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ టాపిక్స్ మీద అడ్వైస్ ఇస్తూ ఉంటారు. సో, ఆయన వన్ ఆఫ్ ది ట్విట్టర్ థ్రెడ్స్‌లో ఇలా రాశారనమాట. హౌ కోల్డ్ ఈమెయిలింగ్ వర్క్స్ అని. సో, అలాంటి సిమిలర్ మెథడ్‌లోనే వి అప్రోచ్ సంగీత గారనమాట. మా చిత్రాలోచన జీమెయిల్ ఐడీ నుంచి వి రోట్ ఎ కోల్డ్ ఈమెయిల్ టు హర్ ఆస్కింగ్ హర్ ఇఫ్ షీ వుడ్ జాయిన్ అవర్ పాడ్‌కాస్ట్ ఫర్ ఎ సెషన్ అని. సో, ఇట్ వర్క్డ్ అండ్ హియర్ వి ఆర్. సో, వీడ్ లైక్ టు థాంక్ అంకుర్ వారికో ఫర్ హిస్ అడ్వైస్. అండ్ ఆయన గురించి తెలియని వాళ్ళకి ఆయన రిలేటెడ్ లింక్స్ అన్నీ డిస్క్రిప్షన్‌లో ఉంటాయి. ప్లీజ్ డూ చెక్ హిమ్ అవుట్. ఈస్ ఎ గ్రేట్ గాయ్. యాహ్! సో, ఇంక లేట్ చేయకుండా విల్ స్టార్ట్ ది ఎపిసోడ్. హ్యాపీ లిసనింగ్.
సో సో సంగీ ఇవాళ మనతో పాటు సంగీతాదేవి గారు ఉన్నారు. సో సంగీత గారిని మేము ఆల్మోస్ట్ 2018 నుంచి ట్విట్టర్లో ఫాలో అవుతున్నాం. అండ్ సో ఏ తెలుగు సినిమా వచ్చినా సంగీతాదేవి గారిని హేమంత్ ఇద్దరి ట్వీట్స్ చూసి ఓకే సినిమాకి వెళ్ళాలా లేదా అని డిసైడ్ అయ్యేవాళ్ళం. సో మేము కాలేజ్లో ఉన్నప్పుడు ఫ్రైడే 12 o'clock లంచ్ బ్రేక్ లో చూసేవాళ్ళం ఇద్దరు ట్వీట్స్ ఎలా వచ్చింది రివ్యూ అని. సో వి బీన్ following her. So apart from writing on movies, so I'll just read the description. So she also writes on fashion, lifestyle, art, and events in Hyderabad. And I've seen her writing on books as well in some cases. So just movie critic kaadu, she does a lot for Hindu. Yeah. So context set cheyadaniki she works for the Hindu um, as a film journalist and all of these things. So we wanted ma'am to be here because ma'am film sort of we call ourselves film appreciators, but in general why film criticism is important and what film critics generally go through while they're writing a review, what external pressures they have. So ఇవన్నీ perspectives తెలుసుకోవడం కూడా చాలా ఈజీ. అండ్ బ్లేటెంట్ గా పెట్టాలంటే జనాలు ఫిల్మ్ క్రిటిక్ కి దే గివ్ అ హార్డ్ టైమ్ సేయింగ్ దట్ యువర్ బయాస్డ్, you're paid, you're biased, and all sorts of things. But yeah, we also want to put out their side as well, and we also want to know because we also don't know. So yeah, so that's the context. Yeah, welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me on, Chitra, Alochana. You both have been doing some really good work. I have had the chance to listen to a few episodes, and I think it's interesting that both of you are doing this.
Thank you for your time actually.
Yeah. So first, we want to know how you got into movie reviews and film critics as such. What's
Okay,
what's your journey in this field?
Okay, I'll give you a slightly long answer for this. After I did my master's in journalism and all that, news journalism is what I wanted to do. That was the primary area of interest and all that. So when I applied, the first job was with Times of India, and the editor who recruited me, I don't know what he felt, but he suggested that I start working in features. He said, I think you will do well here. Why don't you give it a shot? And cinema was an area of interest for a long time, I think, right from childhood. I used to watch a lot of, say, 70s, 80s Hindi films through accompanied by my dad and mom and all that on TV, Z Classics and all that. And also a lot of Tamil cinema where I grew up. And the Telugu dubbed films, because back then in Tamil Nadu, Telugu films wouldn't release. It was very rare. You'd get Malayalam films, but not Tamil films where I lived. So just seeing the general interest that I had in cinema, they asked me to start doing interviews and things like that. Once I moved to Hyderabad, I was new to Hyderabad. So initially, this was in 2000. I did a few film reviews, but I wouldn't say I was like full-fledged into it. On and off, I used to do with a colleague of mine. That was for a very short period of time, but otherwise my responsibilities were different. So I stuck to feature interviews, other responsibilities which were there. I think I got pulled into Telugu film reviews very actively only in 2013.
ఓకే.
That was after a couple of others stepped back and didn't want to do it for their personal reasons. Someone went on a long leave and things like that. So that is when I started doing it. So the whole new journey, the journey was very new. In the beginning, I was very nervous as well. Hemant, I knew him at that time through Twitter, Hemant Kumar. So the first review I wrote, I don't want to mention the film, but when I wrote it and then he read it and he said, Sangeetha, I can actually visualize quite a bit of the film from what you've written. So don't give away so much. Hold back and write what you felt about the film. And then let it go on from there. It took me about 2 or 3 films to get the hang of it. And then I thoroughly enjoyed the process. So this was good. The weekly routine of doing it sometimes becomes a little overwhelming. That is because of the amount of content which is coming out nowadays, the number of films that are hitting theaters and all that.
True,
But
true, true.
still, we try and do as much as possible. Sometimes we are selective, also knowing that the readership profile of the Hindu is very different, right? So if there are 7 movies releasing in a week, there's no necessity for you to write all the 7. How many people are going to be interested in reading it and all that comes into account. So maybe 1 or 2 or 3 films. That's what we aim at doing.
True, true, true. So, so officially you've been into film journalism 2013 లో స్టార్ట్ చేశారు. 2013 నుంచి 2021.
Film journalism ముందు నుంచే చేశానండి. అంటే I used to do a lot
Only-
of interviews and all that.
Oh,
But
okay.
not reviews. Reviews I got dragged into it in 2013. 2000, I think my very first film interview was with Mrs. Jaya Bachchan when
Wow.
she came here to promote Fizza. Hrithik Roshan did not come to Hyderabad, I think, but she had come down. So that was my very first interview as a journalist itself.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
One word, మీరు dragged down into film criticism అన్నారు. So it's more of a defensive kind of word. So can you explain what was your process in using that particular word? అంటే like
I'll tell you why. It's not that I think of it as a burden or like a punishment and all that. It should not be misunderstood that way. What I mean is, otherwise, I used to be very selective in what kind of movies I would like to watch. So, irrespective of languages, it could be a good Tamil film, Malayalam film, or a Hindi film, English film, or a Telugu film. Only if I know that my friends or some reviewers, recommend the film strongly, then I would go and watch it. Otherwise, I wouldn't. Though I am like a complete film buff, it's not like every Friday I would hit the theaters. Now when you're when the responsibility is handed over, even if you see the trailer and you feel that okay, this is going to be a little tough to watch, you have to watch it, right? It's part of your job. So that's what I meant by saying dragged into it.
Right. All clear.
ఈ క్వశ్చన్ I mean it reflects in some of your tweets. మొన్ననే like last Friday I saw a tweet and I laughed a lot. And whatever luxury you have, I mean, whatever luxury we have that you don't have, right? So మేము మా ఇష్టం వచ్చిన సినిమాల మీద నచ్చిన సినిమాల మీద we tend to talk, but you have a compulsion. So I think for some movies, some Saksham or something, there was one tweet by you and Hemant or some other reviewer, I don't remember, but both of you were literally crying why it had to be an 8:30 show in the morning. Yeah, so మీకు ఆ లగ్జరీ లేదు అండ్ ఇట్ వాస్ వెరీ హార్డ్ ఆల్సో. ఐ మీన్ సో వై ఐ సే ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ హార్డ్ బికాస్ అంటే ఆఫ్టర్ సీయింగ్ మూవీస్ ఎవ్రీ ఫ్రైడే ఇట్ ఈస్ ఈజీ టు లూజ్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్ ఆన్ quote unquote some kind of films, right? So you watch the trailer and you are like మళ్ళీ ఇలాంటి సినిమానేనా అన్న. So how do you try to maintain that objectivity when you're going into theater every Friday? It is very tough. And యాజ్ యూ సెడ్ మీరు ట్రైలర్ చూడంగానే మీకే అబ్బా అని అనిపించచ్చు. హౌ డు యూ ట్రై టు మెయింటైన్ దట్ ఆబ్జెక్టివిటీ?
I don't know. I think it just comes with years of practice of doing it. I wouldn't think I'm on an autopilot mode. I know that I have to do it. It's almost like Fridays when I wake up, I know that I have to run out of the house at 8 a.m. and do that, and go back to office and file it. File the review and things like that. Sometimes I've found that you may not expect a film to be great, but it'll be surprisingly better than what you expected, or there'll be something in it. One aspect of the film you'll like it, or one character, or one episode, something to take away from. There are some films where you don't get anything away from it and all that, but it's part of the work. See, we already have the luxury of slightly filtering what we want to watch, depending on the volume of work that we are handling in that week, and the kind of films that we want to review for the Hindu and things like that. So I shouldn't be complaining too much. How do we maintain the objectivity? It is tough. It is tough. We are human beings after all. Sometimes we tend to get slightly carried away by something good that we see. If there are like a few promos, and if there is a trailer which is like really good, or more than all that, what happens is sometimes, we also do interviews with directors, actors, and sometimes technicians and all, right? So when they talk to you so passionately about a film, especially if it's a film where a lot of research was involved, and they've gone out of their way to transform themselves to do something, so that also weighs on your mind. It shouldn't be the case, but subconsciously it weighs on your mind. So that is the area where you have to be extremely careful to still be objective and not get carried away and like applaud film that's not really good.
Right.
That is something which you learn by and by, and we are prone to error. There's no harm in admitting that.
Right. Yeah. So multiple times I've seen you publishing a review, and mali tarvata you rewrite it, or you edit some parts of it and again republish it. So, oh, sorry.
No, I don't.
Okay,
Because we're
sorry,
not
sorry.
allowed to do that.
Okay. No, it's okay. That is, I think you just retweet the
yeah.
same thing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
just
I got
replug
confused.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Because
got
once
confused.
something is online, it is online. We do not, change anything in it unless there's like a factual error that needs to be corrected and all that, and that has to go through an editorial process. So once it's done, it's done. It's out of our hands.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. You just replug it. Yeah. My bad.
Yeah. I replug it.
Yeah. Now I got the context again.
సో సబ్జెక్టివిటీ గురించి అన్నప్పుడు, అండ్ లైక్ జనరల్ పబ్లిక్లో క్రిటిసిజం అంటే, ఫిల్మ్ క్రిటిక్ అంటే దే సీ దట్ రేటింగ్ చూసేసి సినిమాకి వెళ్ళడం అనేది ఇట్ ఈస్ క్వైట్ కామన్ రైట్ నౌ. పెరుగుతూ వచ్చింది ఓవర్ ద ఇయర్స్. సో అండ్ అట్ సమ్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్ హిందీలో రేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ ఉండే అనుకుంటా, ఆర్ దే డిస్కార్డెడ్ కంప్లీట్లీ.
We never had the rating system. As long as I've been in the organization for about 15 or 16 years now, the original practice was to not have ratings. That was when Bharadwaj Rang and everybody was working in our organization, right? So it was a editorial decision taken to say that let people read what you're writing and make up their mind, than go by the numbers which can be manipulated.
Right.
Only for a short while, I think as soon as the Bombay edition was opened, that was in 2015-16, I think. So the Mumbai bureau started giving ratings. To maintain a kind of a uniformity, all of us also started giving ratings. That did not last for more than a year. After that, it was discontinued. I remember Kshanam got... Kshanam, Pelli Chuplu, those two films got 4 stars. I remember that. The others I really don't remember. But by the time, no, for the other, after that, whichever big films came and all that, I think the editorial decision was to do away with stars.
Right.
That's also been like a saving grace, I think, because a lot of trolling happens looking at the stars. So when you
True.
don't give a star, then you kind of make people read the whole thing, or
Right.
at least read a few lines, if not the whole thing, depending on their patience levels. So
Right.
they don't like target you going by whether you gave something 3 stars or 3.25 and things like that.
Exactly. And already మీకు చెప్పినట్టే you know where this question is leading you. So we'll not be taking any names, but movie the elephant in the room is Jai Bhim. So and the whole controversy behind it.
So
Yeah.
before going to JVM, సో మేజర్ ట్రోలింగ్ ఏదైతే అవుతుందో అవి కోట్ అండ్ కోట్ స్టార్ సినిమాలకు అవుతుంది. సో అంటే వాళ్ళు రివ్యూ టైటిల్ బట్టి కానీ రివ్యూలో రాసిన దాన్ని బట్టి కానీ వాళ్ళు అంటే సినిమా బాగున్నా బాగాలేకపోయినా దే టెన్ టు ట్రోల్ మోర్ ఆర్ అటాక్ మోర్. అటాక్ ఇస్ స్ట్రాంగ్ వర్డ్ ఏమో. బట్ అంటే ఆ సినిమాలకి హౌ డు యూ సీ, అంటే మీరు యూ ఆల్సో కీప్ ద నంబర్స్ ఇన్ ద మైండ్ అండ్ టోన్ డౌన్ చేస్తారా, లేదా if you want, if the film is bad, you'll tend to be brutal. So how do you do that?
No, you cannot play by what the fans want you to write. Then there's no end to it, because if you take say there are top 10 stars who have a huge fan base, then you have to be judgmental in what you do. I mean, whether you like a film or not like a film. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is that if you don't like a film, say why you don't like a film and what you don't like a film. Put that forth, argue your case, but never let it become like a personal attack of any director or an actor. And there are ways of saying somebody does not fit a role. I mean, I'm randomly giving a example. If suppose you have a cop and you need to do, like, if it's like a proper action drama, and if the hero doesn't have the physical agility to match that kind of role, if he doesn't have the persona, so you just write it in that way than saying that he looks very heavy built or things like that. So you kind of choose your words to say why you didn't like it, why you feel somebody is not fit for it, or why the story did not work for you. A lot of times where the story does not work is when they dilute the essence of the film by introducing a lot of say very formulaic elements, thinking that this is going to cater to the masses. Even a masala movie needs to be very well made, right? Otherwise nobody is going to sit and watch it.
Right.
We've seen a lot of films flopping despite all the kind of ingredients that you throw into it also. You have to point out, you cannot take sides. You cannot take sides. There are fans who will point a finger and say that, so-and-so star's movie, you gave a good review, but for our star, you're not giving. And these things like that, we don't even remember. Honestly, I don't make a note of it. Only when I go back and look at reviews done, like say 3 years or 5 years after somebody trolled me, then I'll realize what has happened. I take it as a case-to-case basis on a film-to-film basis.
All right.
So sort of
Fairly satisfying
I'm playing the devil's advocate here, so don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Sandy
did not watch Jai Bhim, so ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఓన్లీ మన ఇద్దరి మధ్య ఉంటుంది. సో he doesn't know the whole context అనమాట. సో మీరు చూసారు మూవీ అండ్ యూ లైక్ ద ఫిలిం, అండ్ ఐ am on his side. I did not like the film. So that this particular controversy was literally blown out of proportion, out of nowhere. అంటే జస్ట్ ఆయన రివ్యూ ఇచ్చిన తర్వాత ఇట్ జస్ట్ వెంట్ ఆన్ అండ్ ఆన్ ఫర్ ఫ్యూ డేస్ ఆన్ ట్విట్టర్, వాట్ ఎవర్, ఎక్కడెక్కడో అయింది. సో ఈ ప్రపోర్షన్లో రావడానికి లైక్ why do you think was the reason? ఎందుకంటే because of that particular story అంటారా ఆ జై భీమ్, because of the theme or the story that film deals with, because it is already sympathetic, and ఆయన ఆల్రెడీ చెప్పినట్టు మెన్షన్ చేసినట్టు స్టార్టింగ్ లో, because it is a true story doesn't mean it has to be a good film అన్నట్టు చెప్పారు. So what do you think about that?
Okay, in this case, I don't think the trolling happened only because it was like a star film. If that was the case, then for every other star film that somebody trashes, this kind of a vicious attack might happen.
Right.
I think it was also a fact got to do with the real life story.
Right.
Some of the points that were highlighted in that review, while watching the film, it crossed my mind also. The fact that they are manipulative, emotionally manipulative, and things like that. But beyond that, that story was really strong enough for me to be able to overlook all these things. These things, at the end of the movie, I did not think of these as big issues that would bother me.
Right.
Hours after watching the film, that it left me very disturbed. I went back and watched Justice Chandru's interviews, also old articles, reports from the Tamil media which had reported on this, to see what all had happened and all that. I was not reviewing the film, right? The Chennai bureau does the reviews for Tamil films.
Right.
So I was not looking at it in that view. Those minor things did not bother me much at the end of the film. So I was able to look past it, which is why I said I really liked the film. And in that film, in that case, I really like the fact that they put out such a story, out in public domain, and it was very well made within the mainstream format, I should say. See, even this, a lot of people would say this is not mainstream, it's very niche and things like that. That's because we are conditioned to think so.
Right.
If there's no song, if there's no fight, it doesn't mean that it's not mainstream. A mainstream film can be a very well made courtroom drama, isn't it?
Right.
I did even, the points that were pointed out, like the arguments between the prosecutor and and Chandru. The fact that there's no really strong opposition to his arguments, all that also was running at the back of my mind. But then, see, I don't know how much of it, how it transpired in real life also, right? They
Right.
must have taken a few creative liberties, but I also heard from someone I know that the opposing arguments were not so strong enough, though the
Right.
case took over so many years, and so many layers of investigation had to happen. So I did not know to what extent it was inspired by real life, and is it fair to apply the same yardstick of your cinematic rules for this, was like a question. So in the larger interest of the story, I was willing to overlook all that.
All right. So it was a
One of
subjective decision. The meeku nachindi kabatti, so you don't care about all the flaws, whatever it is pointing out.
a story has to emotionally move you. If it
Right.
moves you and makes you look past all those small cinematic flaws that are there, then I think it's fine. And it is subjective. A film is very subjective. One of the really good reviews I read, and which I could connect with a lot, was what was written by Sudhir Srinivasan of the New Indian Express. I thought he pointed out all these, minor things that cross his mind, and then he also argued why he thought it was like a very earnestly made film. And I think I thought the same in this film's context.
Right. Fair enough. And going back to star vehicles, ఇప్పుడు జైభీమ్ తీసుకుంటే ఇట్స్ వెరీ అంటే చాలా మందికి తెలియని స్టోరీని ఆయన ముందు తీసుకొచ్చారు. అంటే తమిళ వాళ్ళకి మేబీ తెలిసి ఉండొచ్చు, వేరే జనాలకి తెలియకపోయి ఉండొచ్చు. సో ఈ స్టోరీని ఆయన స్టార్ వెహికల్ కాబట్టి, బికాస్ ఈస్ అ పోస్టర్ బాయ్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫిల్మ్, ఇట్ ఈస్ రీచింగ్ మెనీ ఆడియన్సెస్ అండ్ ఎస్పెషలీ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆన్ ఓటీటీ. సో నౌ గోయింగ్ బ్యాక్ టు Vakeel Saab, where Pawan Kalyan tried to do the same thing, and it is manipulated, and manipulated in sense mainstream కోసం ఒక బ్యాక్ స్టోరీ యాడ్ చేయడం, ప్రీ ఇంటర్వెల్ బ్లాక్ దగ్గర వాట్ ఎవర్ దే డిడ్ ఆ సాంగ్, ఇట్ డి నాట్ వర్క్ అవుట్ ఫర్ మీ ఆల్సో. బట్ what do you think about that? And the star heroes now doing progressive, quote unquote progressive films. So
Okay, I thought as much that after Jaybeam your question will go to Vakeel Saab, and I think I was right with that. Okay, I'll tell you, in all the three films, Pink absolutely was fabulous. That's my first choice. If you ask me about the films made on that story, that's my absolute favorite, because though they would call it a multiplex movie and things like that, I think I watched it in PVR, and with not like a press preview, and the audience was like so quiet and like almost applauding in certain key areas and things like that, and I was really touched that they reacted that way. The Tamil remake with Ajit, yes, they took a few liberties. They gave him the flashback, his own personal flashback, and all that.
Right.
All that was there, which again, I know they did it for the star image and things like that, but still the no means no message was strong enough, I thought. Also, what was significant was, the girls are like coming out of a rock concert and things like that, right? So if they are urban women who are staying out late at night, and not because of work or anything like that, but why not? Why can't I go to a concert? It's that kind of situation, right? Which
True.
was good.
True.
Here, I felt they, wanted to tone it down so much to play very safe.
Right.
In fact, I had this conversation with the director before the film's release, and he said I had to do this so that people don't get very judgmental, saying that these girls deserve this kind of a situation, deserve
Right.
to be caught in such a situation. So their idea was very clear that you have to do this to make it very sympathetic, to draw people's empathy.
All right.
Personally, I would have preferred if it hadn't been that way, because you have enough shots showing them to just drive home the fact that they are very, say domesticated, or like regular women, the stereotype.
Right. Right.
You have shots of them in the temple and so on and so forth.
Right.
What if one of them had returned from a rock concert? Does she deserve to go through something like that? Absolutely not, right?
No. Yeah.
So see, this is us who are a little more privileged, entitled, looking at a film and talking like this.
Right.
Later, when I went to a press conference, this was within the media. We were just waiting for some other interview to happen and all that. On the sidelines, one of the elderly photographers, he was talking to me about the film, and he said, so these girls are returning from their office party late at night. So this is bound to happen, right? So what's the big deal? Why are we even arguing that case? I was at a loss for words. I thought, see, even in spite of toning down so much, someone who works in the media has this kind of an opinion. You can't change people's mindsets, right? So it's very demotivating when you listen to such kind of arguments and all that.
True.
So the director was very clear that he's doing what he is doing so that the film will become a hit, of course, and because the star fans will accept it. But I really don't know how many people came out with that message of no means no after watching Vakeel Saab. I wish they did, but I really doubt it, because the mass masala portions, I didn't really connect to it. I thought it diluted the essence of that film. Koncham toned down chesi much.
True. And I mean, స్టోరీలో మెయిన్ ఎలిమెంట్స్ ని టోన్ డౌన్ చేసి చెప్పేస్తే ఇట్స్ ఆల్రెడీ డిఫీటింగ్ ద పర్పస్ అనిపించింది. లైక్ ఇప్పుడు ఆయన he toned it down so much so that you are already sympathetic to them, so there is no point. That's the whole point of where Pink stands. Pink wants us to judge, and then it says that you should not judge that. Like it's a that's what ఆ మూవీ చెప్తుంది. బట్ ఇక్కడికి వచ్చేసరికి అది మొత్తం టోన్ డౌన్ చేసేసరికి బట్ నేను ఐ డి నాట్ వాంట్ గో టు వకీల్ సాబ్ యాక్చువల్లీ, బట్ స్టార్ ఫిల్మ్స్ అనేసరికి వై నాట్ అనుకున్నాను. బట్
I think we also look at it that way, since we've already seen Pink, and we know how well that was made. So
Right.
we have like a benchmark. If something does not meet the benchmark, we feel you could have done so much more. First of all, you're getting a huge star to take up such a film and to drive home the message that no means no. So do it a little more effectively is our why don't you do it a little more effectively is our argument. I don't know. I think I hope we get films like that, and it's not like people will not watch, right? If a star like Pavan Kalyan is talking about something like this, I'm sure people will watch. And it's not something like a preachy format and all that. It is a courtroom drama. It is an interesting courtroom drama. So why not?
ట్రూ ప్రీచి ఉండే బదులు ఇలా చెప్తే మేబీ ఇంకా జనాలు వింటారేమో, చూస్తారేమో.
One hopes so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took the luxury and did not watch Vakeel Saab also, so I did not talk here as well. Yeah, but so నాకేమనిపిస్తుంది అంటే వకీల్ సాబ్ అంటే ఐ కొన్ని ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ చూసాను సినిమాలో. వకీల్ సాబ్ ఎందుకు ఇంపార్టెంట్ అంటే ప్రాబబ్లీ అంటే పర్ఫెక్ట్ ఫిలిం అనను కానీ పవన్ కళ్యాణ్ చేస్తే ఇంకో 10 మంది ప్రొడ్యూసర్స్ అంటే అట్లీస్ట్ ఈ జానర్ లో ఈ సైడ్ కొంచెం మెసేజ్ కొంచెం కమర్షియలైజ్ చేసి అయినా తీయడానికి రెడీ అవుతారు. సో యాజ్ ఈ వకీల్ సాబ్ ఇప్పుడు ఎలా ఉంది అలా ఉన్నా ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ గుడ్ బికాస్ తెలుగు ఫిలిం ఇండస్ట్రీలో అంటే తమిళ్లో ముందు నుంచి దేర్ ఆర్ వెరీ చాలా ఫిల్మ్స్ వచ్చాయి ఏవైతే సోషల్ ఇష్యూస్ గురించి మాట్లాడినాయి. సో ఐ డోంట్ బిలీవ్ మూవీస్ షుడ్ యాక్చువల్లీ ప్రీచ్ అండ్ ఆల్. ఐ ఓన్లీ బిలీవ్ దే షుడ్ రిఫ్లెక్ట్, అంటే చూపియాలి, మిర్రర్ చూపియాలి. సో అలాంటి సినిమాలు చాలా వచ్చాయి. అంటే అప్పట్లో ఆకలి రాజ్యం నుంచి ఇప్పుడు వెట్రిమారన్ తీసే సినిమాలు కూడా దే ఆల్ రిఫ్లెక్ట్ వాట్ ఈస్ హ్యాపెనింగ్. బట్ ఆ రిఫ్లెక్షన్ అండ్ ప్రీచినెస్ దర్ ఇస్ వెరీ థిన్ లైన్. అండ్ మేబీ ఆ వకీల్ సాబ్ is a step in right direction అని అయితే అనిపిస్తుంది.
Yeah, it is definitely a step in the right direction. It's just that we as people who look at films from a film criticism point of view are looking at things which could have been much better handled and things like that. But taking up a subject like this itself is like appreciable.
True, agreed.
Great.
So ఇందాక మీరు మాట్లాడుతున్నప్పుడు so Bhim, you said that you were not reviewing, and so what is the pressure? Let's say an OTT film only. So అంటే వెంటనే రాయాలి అని కాకుండా, సో వాట్ ఈస్ ద డిఫరెన్స్ వెన్ హౌ యూ అప్రోచ్ అ మూవీ అండ్ రివ్యూ రాయాలి అన్నప్పుడు, రివ్యూ రాయకూడదు అన్నప్పుడు?
Not much. See, when I don't have to review a film, I don't need to sit up at midnight and watch it, right? So I can even watch it the next day. That's the only difference. But otherwise, if a film is boring and all that, there's no way I'm going to be watching it, because at least if I have to review something, I'll sit and watch till the end. On OTT, that too. OTT, it's so easy to just stop it midway and say, no, this is going nowhere and let me not watch it. So there's no external pressure at all. And there's, there are a lot of films that I watch and I don't tweet about it because sometimes I get very bored of social media as well. I don't feel the necessity to tweet about every single film I watch, whether I'm reviewing or not. If I'm reviewing, obviously the review is out. But if I'm not reviewing, I watch a lot of movies or a series, but I don't say anything. Sometimes I really feel compelled to say something and I do it. External pressures, I think, is very common. I don't know if you call it as external pressure. It's just the way reviewing has changed. I don't know if both of you remember, there was newspapers at least used to publish reviews on Sunday earlier. This was about a decade ago or even a little further ahead. When I was growing up, I would never expect a review on a Friday or Saturday. So it would be on a Sunday. So which means that whoever is writing it has enough time to think about it and mull over something and then write about it. But now it's like you watch it and then you go back and within 2 to 3 hours or you're writing something, or maybe a little later, but your review's up within the same day, within the same afternoon and things like that. So that sometimes gets a little strenuous for certain kind of movies. And sometimes it flows easily, sometimes I wish there was a little more time. That I think we have to just live with the times, live with the changing times and adapt. One film that I think I wrote something, deleted, rewrote, I rewrote about thrice was Oh Baby. I really can't pinpoint why. And I got to see it one day ahead.
Okay.
One day ahead because there was a private preview going on at one afternoon. But in spite of it, I liked it. I liked a lot of what I saw in the film, but for some reason I kept reworking that review like twice or thrice and then wrote it. Sometimes I think it just boils down to how the writing flows.
True. I mean, I kind of relate to this ఎందుకంటే నేను నా బ్లాగ్స్ లో జస్ట్ ఇలా రివ్యూస్ రాస్తుంటాను జస్ట్ ఫర్ ద సేక్ ఆఫ్ రైటింగ్. అంటే ఎవరు చదువుతారని కాదు కానీ, బట్ మీరన్నది ఐ కెన్ రిలేట్ సమ్ టైమ్స్. మూవీ బాగుంటుంది బట్ కూర్చొని రాయాలన్నా టైప్ చేయాలన్నా ఏమి రాదు బయటికి. బట్ అండ్ యూజువలీ క్రిటిక్స్ ఆర్ రివ్యూయర్స్ డోంట్ టెన్ టు అడ్మిట్ అంటే an opinion on a film might change within a day or with a rewatch, which might happen the next day or a week later or a year later. So how do you process this? Ante like review, if it is out annaru kada indaka, it is not yours anymore. So that aside, ఈ ఒపీనియన్ చేంజింగ్ గురించి
we as people change, right, with our life experiences. So certain films that we grow up watching, when we go back and watch it, we would not connect with it the same way, and we would feel, oh, did I really enjoy this so much at that point of time? And so
Right.
that I think is inevitable. It's a part of growing up, so we don't need to be so harsh on ourselves. But yes, a couple of reviews, there are times when I feel maybe I've been too lenient on them, when I've been too forgiving on them, and not pointed out the flaws enough. For me, mostly it's never been the other way around. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, somebody on Twitter accused me of being very, very diplomatic, and he said, "You must be the most gentle reviewers for Telugu cinema. Why don't you just point out things as they are?" But in the case of that film that he pointed out, I didn't feel it was so bad that I could not sit and watch it and all that. So there was no reason for me to trash it like that. Only if a film is like unbearable, I really rip it apart. Otherwise, I don't do it like that. If I can sit through and watch, I'll say that it's watchable, but I'll also say what I liked and what I didn't like about it. Okay, I can point out with one example where I feel views have changed. Now, this might again cause like a Arjun Reddy.
Mhm.
All right. So I still
Right.
would say that you watch it as a film told from the perspective of a alpha male, an entitled guy, a brat.
Right.
He's
Right.
definitely not a not a guy that you should be emulating and things like that. He's not like an example to lead by. That
Right.
said, uh, 2 years or 3 years later, when the entire Me Too incident came about and all that, see that incident, it was not just about Arjun Reddy, but that made me a little more conscious of what I'm watching. Uh, you can endlessly debate saying cinema is supposed to be viewed as an art form, and whether it influences society, whether it does not influence society. You can keep debating on that. But when you watch a film, and if it is not gender sensitive, or if some parts of it makes you feel a little uncomfortable, or you feel that maybe this will get interpreted in a wrong way, and maybe they should have been a little forceful in saying what they wanted to do, I think you have to say that. A lot of people had problem with why finally they reconcile, they meet and things like that, and he shouldn't have got the girl, was the argument a lot of my friends also had. Does
Right.
he deserve the girl and all that? But he's gone through a whole kind of a journey, whether you talk whether you brand him as a toxic masculine guy and things
Yeah.
like that. But perhaps now I would look at the film a little differently, and I would say that it could have been a little forceful in making him repent for that entire journey that he went through and things like that. But it was a problematic guy. Now
Right.
again, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people for and against, and you can keep debating on this. And sadly, a lot of things are also inspired by real life, right? There are men like that in real life, not completely to that extent, but different parts of it you would have seen in different people. So
True.
such things have to be kept in mind. But you cannot get very woke about every film that you watch as well. Uh, I don't know if I should have even taken Arjun Reddy as an example, because I'm tired of debating about it, and I'm tired of even listening to debates about it. In fact, I did not go and watch Kabir Singh. I had no interest in it.
Okay.
For me, that
Okay.
journey was over, and I did not want to watch anything else. So when the entire furor over Kabir Singh happened, that was when my older review got
Okay.
revisited by people, and then they were
Okay.
like, "How did you even give this a good review?" and stuff like that. Uh, for me, at that point, what took me by surprise was a Telugu filmmaker
Mhm.
um, showing that a hero a protagonist can have a lot of flaws in him. He's not like a complete do-gooder and
Right.
things like that. And also the kind of filmmaking that went in, I thought was he held your attention for like 3 hours and 5 minutes, which I don't think would have
It is
happened
easy,
otherwise.
not easy. No, no, no.
Yeah. So there were a lot of things at play at that point of time, and that is one film for which I think I would have later discussed with a lot of other critics from Bombay and Delhi who I know and who I look up to. And some of them also liked the film, and they also said what they didn't like in it, but also why they liked it, and felt that it made for an absorbing watch. Uh, that is definitely there.
Right, true. That
Yeah.
takes me to the point. There's just one caveat here. I mean, the same furor which was happening at that point. Manoj Bajpayee was giving an interview at some place, so he was asked the same question, and he happened to say something on these lines. He said, "Why should a film be burdened with one's morality?" So, what's your thoughts on that line?
I agree. But what happens is inevitably when you have a protagonist who's shown in this manner, it
Right,
also depends upon how the director is projecting him, right? Whether you're unintentionally showing him as a larger than life hero, or are you pointing out what he does and how he kind of falls from grace and things like that.
right,
If we go by the moral compass, I don't think we can watch a lot of movies that have been made internationally as well. They wouldn't
agreed.
have that appeal. So you cannot sit on your moral high horses. Okay, a better example for me to deal with this would also be Gita Govindam. Gita
Right,
Govindam, the scene in the bus, it made me very uncomfortable while watching it because a friend of mine went through something in a bus, okay, and she kind of raised hell over it, and there were newspaper reports and stuff like that. So I thought even for a joke or even for like in the name of romance, I felt,
yeah,
please don't show this. There's enough amount of teasing and sexual harassment going on for women at public places, so please do not show it. But in the review that I wrote, I had mentioned something to that effect, saying that just because it's a hero, he can, and we know that he's a hero with no ulterior motives. So you get away with something like this, but in a real life situation, it would make somebody feel very uncomfortable. And I had
right,
explained something. So someone who was editing my copy felt you don't need to elaborate so much, and certain things got left out of the review.
okay,
um, but the ultimate responsibility lies with me because I'm the one who watched the film, right? So I should have argued my case and said no, let it be, because it made me feel very uncomfortable. So the review went almost like fairly giving the film a very clean chit. So
Mhm.
that is one review for which I got a little bit of backlash, saying, why didn't you point out that? Wasn't it troublesome? I
Right,
agree, it was
right,
troublesome. I felt uncomfortable watching it. I did not watch it at a press preview. I watched it in PVR, absolutely among strangers, a lot of boys, and I felt extremely uncomfortable. So when you deep within
oh,
feel something like that, I think you should write what you feel, saying that this doesn't
true,
sound appropriate.
true. I'll come back to this point, but Sandy was saying something earlier.
Uh, so my only point was అంటే అర్జున్ రెడ్డి ఇక్కడ రిలీజ్ అయినప్పుడు యా బేసికలీ whatever సందీప్ రెడ్డి వంగా సెడ్ ఇన్ అనుపమా's ఇంటర్వ్యూ వాస్ స్పాట్ ఆన్. ఏంటి అంటే సౌత్ తెలుగులో రిలీజ్ అయినప్పుడు దేర్ వాజ్ అ లాట్ ఆఫ్ క్రిటిసిజం, పాజిటివ్ క్రిటిసిజం, నెగిటివ్ క్రిటిసిజం, వై ఫిలిం వర్క్, వై ఫిలిం డజంట్ వర్క్ ఫర్ సమ్ పీపుల్. బట్ whenever Kabir Singh got released, there was people were only looking at it from one perspective. దట్ ఈస్ నాట్ గుడ్. అంటే ఫిల్మ్ మేకింగ్ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ వాటన్నిటిని ఇగ్నోర్ చేసి బేసిక్ ఒక పాయింట్ తీసుకొని కార్నర్ చేసి దే ఆర్ ట్రైంగ్ టు స్టాంప్ ద ఫిలిం, విచ్ ఐ ఫెల్ట్ వాస్ నాట్ గుడ్. యా, దట్స్ ఆల్. అదర్ దెన్ దస్, అంటే సినిమా నచ్చితే నచ్చింది, నచ్చకపోతే నచ్చలేదు, దాని గురించి జనాలు చొక్కాలు చింపుకునే రేంజ్కి వెళ్ళిపోయారు ట్విట్టర్ లో అయితే కబీర్ సింగ్ రిలీజ్ అయినప్పుడు. ఐ డోంట్ నో, అంటే అంత యా ఐ మీన్ సో ఏమీ లేని దాని నుంచి పీపుల్ ట్రై టు గెట్ అ కాంట్రవర్సీ అండ్ దెన్ ఇంకా హైప్ ఇచ్చి దేర్ ఆర్ సమ్ పీపుల్ అలైనింగ్ విత్ ఇట్, దేర్ ఆర్ సమ్ పీపుల్ నాట్ అలైనింగ్ విత్ ఇట్. ఏ ఇష్యూలో ఏం లేకపోయినా దాన్ని అనవసరంగా హైప్ చేసేసి, ఐ డోంట్ నో వై పీపుల్ డూ దట్. బట్ యా, ఫిలిం మీరు అన్నట్టు దేర్ వాజ్ అ హీ హెల్డ్ అవర్ అటెన్షన్ ఫర్ 3 hours, విచ్ ఇస్ నాట్ అ జోక్. అండ్ ఈ ఏజ్ లో 3 hours సినిమాలు రావడమే మానేసే ఎప్పుడో వచ్చేవి. after almost a decade, a 3 hour film came. I think నేను లాస్ట్ చూసింది జోధా అక్బర్ అనుకుంటా 3 hours. సో ఆఫ్టర్ ఆల్మోస్ట్
yes.
దట్ టైమ్ 3 hours సినిమా కూర్చోబెట్టాడు. యా ఐ థింక్ he should be given enough credit there. And that's it. I don't want to get into any further.
Yeah, I think that film has been discussed over and over and over, that it can just go on and it can open a can of worms at any time you talk about it. So
True.
I know a lot of my friends who are film reviewers as well, who are like absolutely tired of that film, and they say, please don't discuss it now.
Actually, we were also actively avoiding to talk about Arjun Reddy. మేము push చేసాం అనమాట. We did not want to talk about it on our podcast at
Oh,
all.
no. So if you want to edit this
No,
out
no, no,
also,
no.
you can. Then
No,
we can just keep the Geeta Govindam reference.
No, we'll have it because it organically వచ్చింది కాబట్టి we'll put it. But intention అంటే మా ప్రీవియస్ ఎపిసోడ్ చూసింటే we sit on a film and talk about that particular film. సో అలా ఇప్పుడు అర్జున్ రెడ్డి వాజ్ నెవర్ ఇన్ ద లిస్ట్ అనమాట. సో అండ్ గోయింగ్ బ్యాక్ టు దట్ పాయింట్, సో ఆ పర్టికులర్ సీన్ లో, గీతా గోవిందం సినిమాలో ఆ పర్టికులర్ సీన్ లో ఇట్ షోస్ ద గేస్ ఆఫ్ ద డైరెక్టర్ కదా ఇన్ అ వే. సో ఆ గేస్, ఐ వాంట్ టు టేక్ దిస్ నేమ్. సో బోయపాటి సినిమాలో కొన్ని ఫిల్మ్స్ లో ఒక గేజ్ ఒకలాగా ఉంటుంది. అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం సరిలే నీకెవరిలో ఆ పర్టికులర్ ట్రైన్ సీన్ లో ఆ కోట్ అండ్ కోట్ జోక్ కూడా చాలా అన్కంఫర్టబుల్ ఉంటుంది. సో వీటి గురించి if they are in a film, in a commercial film of a star Vakeel, so what kind of, again going back to the same point, message or what kind of reflection they show, and are they justified enough to be there?
No, they're not justified, definitely not. And I think
Right.
there are constraints that everybody plays by, and they say that they wrote something and we have to act in it, and things like that happens for smaller people. But as larger people, irrespective of whoever is part of it, I'm sure if they feel uncomfortable doing it, we don't know what happened behind the scenes. Did anybody talk about it and feel that this will get passed off as a joke, or did anyone voice their concern about it and say that this is not a nice thing to pass off as a joke? Definitely, it was not a nice. I don't think it was humor in the right sense at all. No.
Agreed. Absolutely. I mean, you don't have to comment anything on this, but before Sarle Nikavuru was released, in one of the interviews, Rashmika Mandana, she was saying that I will only pick up films which show women in a good light and which has a very strong character, so on and so forth. The same jargon. Months later, this film comes out and she does a film where she does not have a character at all. There's only one line for her in the whole film. So I think it's very hypocritical. I'm just pointing it out. You don't need to comment if you don't want to.
I don't know. See, very few films have very well written roles for women and all that.
Agreed.
In any kind of a language, and in particular Telugu films. So, which is why, if you see a Pelli Chuplu kind of a movie, you just jump onto it and you just hold it so dear to your heart. There were some, critics in Chennai who said why the Telugu critics praised Pelli Chuplu so much. It's just a regular urban family drama. Sure, show me how many films are there like that which got everything right in it, right from the gender perspective and the clean humor and so many other things like that. And it's a very well-made film, right? We don't get it so often. So when we get something, we go all out and applaud it. We are guilty of doing it. So what?
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Pelli Chuplu one film where ante female lead throughout the cinema lead చేస్తుంటుంది. And actually, I don't know, Telugu discourse lo I felt that is actually underappreciated. People generally don't credit that character Chitra enough, and I feel I make it a point. 1 year and 2 years ayindante I make it a point to tweet that out saying Chitra was the lead. And that also shows ante Vijay Devarkonda anta pedda hit vachina, he only got famous after Arjun Reddy, not after Pelli Chuplu. వాట్ ఎవర్ అటెన్షన్ ఏదైతే వచ్చిందో అంత రాలేదు. అర్జున్ రెడ్డి తర్వాత ఎంతైతే వచ్చిందో పెళ్లి చూపుల తర్వాత అంత రాలేదు. ఈవెన్ దో దట్ ఫిల్మ్ గాట్ నేషనల్ అవార్డ్. Yeah, that is because both of those characters were very well written, very very well written.
Chitra has a very well written character and it's very relatable. These are the kind of young women that any of us would come across in our extended family circle or our friend circle. So it's not the big battles, it's not about saying that the woman is not allowed to work or not allowed to go for higher studies, and she does not have her own say in life and all that. She might have a lot of things, going for her in terms of higher education or being employed somewhere. But when she wants to turn an entrepreneur, it does take some time for her to convince her dad and get people on board and do what she wants to do, right?
Right.
These are also very real struggles. These may not look like big struggles, big feminist struggles and all that, but this is also an entrepreneurial journey, and it was dealt with very nicely. And she's not antagonizing anybody. She wants to take her parents also along with her, including her dad, to be supportive of her journey. I think that's the way a lot of women I know do. It's not about just rebelling and going away. That's one side when you have to do that. But otherwise, you want to establish yourself. You want to drive home the point. Why do you want to do certain things? And then you want to get the support of everybody and tell them that, chill, this is what I want to do in life and it's fine. I will do it well. And, there's nothing wrong in doing this. I thought it was a very well written character and nicely enacted also. Ritu's performance was really good in that.
Yeah. So the one character I remember while you were talking this is Kamini Mukherjee in Godavari.
Oh, yes.
Back
then in 2003, see,
yeah.
you talk about Imtiaz Ali movies where people go away on a holiday after, solo travel after a breakup and things like that. Imagine this, yeah. I mean, this was in 2000, in the mid 2000s, that a girl, just going off on a trip like that, saying that, I want my own space. And after, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Not just for the sake of being cool, it was very relatable. It was nice to see somebody doing that.
Right. And మీరు ఎందాకన్నా feminist struggles అన్నారు కదా, that the same thing it's represented in Anand also in a way.
Yeah.
Kamalini's character. And so which says, does Shekar Kammula understand Telugu cinema women more than other directors or other writers?
I think he's more rooted to the kind of things that he feels is right. He works, there are a lot of women who work in his team, and so he listens to suggestions. He's very open to suggestions. When I had asked him about this while talking about Love Story, he said after he writes a story, when the screenplay is ready, it goes through a lot of discussions. There are women in his team who, if they don't agree with something, they can be very frank in pointing out, saying this is not the way it works and why they think it will not work. And so a lot of times the suggestions are taken, incorporated. And his daughter also gives her views very upfront on what she thinks about certain perspectives. I think he gets it right. He gets it right in terms of how the women are portrayed, and they have an agency. Even the men are like really adorable men, right? Most of them.
Yeah.
You don't find too many real life men like that. You see them in Shekar Kammula's films.
Only Shekar Kammula films.
Yeah. In fact, Varun Tate's character in Fida, he was such a nice guy. Banu might have her tantrums and like her own quirks and all that, but he was a really nice guy.
True. You also tweeted Love Story is the best film you've seen this year. So did you write a review on it? Yes.
Yeah.
I did. Okay, I usually don't, nowadays I don't tweet about a movie as soon as I see it, because I really want to let it sink in and, not say something at the spur of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think I broke it for Love Story because I could see a few things that were like, technically not working for me in the film and things like that. But in spite of it, I was very invested in the journey of Revanth and sorry, what's her name?
I forgot. I forgot. Just let me check.
No,
Let me check.
Okay, I was very invested in their journey and I wanted to see how it goes. And at the back of my mind, I was like, please, let this not be a tragedy. And
Okay.
believe me, when we watch films every Friday, after a point we become very cynical, especially about love stories and all that. Despite that, if a director makes you feel for certain characters and you really root for them, then I thought that was like quite well made. That could be also, partly because of the way Sai Pallavi has portrayed it so beautifully that your heart goes out to her.
Right.
Yeah.
She plays Maunika in this one. So
Yeah, Mauni.
yeah, I saw the film on OTT in AHA. So by the time it came to OTT, they said the ending parts were changed, and you tweeted saying that Rana Daggubati's voiceover comes at the end of the film, right?
Yes,
There is no
I haven't
voiceover at the end
watched
of the film on OTT when I watched it.
Oh,
I don't think
okay. I haven't
there was a
seen
lot
the
of change, I
OTT
guess.
version. Must be. I haven't seen the OTT version. The only complaint I had with the ending in the theater is
Right.
that it looked a little abrupt.
Okay.
It was a little abrupt. It ends with the court scene. You kind of gather where this is going and you can interpret, but there's, you needed probably a few more seconds to let it sink in. It just finished and then there was like a very short voiceover. It's not even like what he wants to say is getting completed. So from what he says, you understand what's happening to the story.
Okay.
And it's like an abrupt cut and you just have to wake up, get up from your seats and walk away. I wish it had lingered for a little while longer, like another 30 seconds or a minute, just to give you that sense of closure to the story.
Right.
So
I felt the
until
ending was rushed. Uh, After so much happens in the last 15 minutes that they
Right.
could have tied it up a little more better to be more impactful.
Right. I heard that they changed the ending. So do you know anything about the altered ending or the one which we did not see?
Okay, I haven't seen the version on AHA, so I
No.
really don't know what to say.
The both versions are the same theatrical ones, only except for the voiceover part. But I heard Ram Venkat Shrikar was saying that there was supposed to be another ending, but which was shot out after whatever happened. But yeah, it was changed, it seems. So I don't know what happened there.
Okay, could be. This subject I did not broach while talking to Shekar Kammula, so I do
Okay.
not know about this.
So I'll tell you why Prithvi is persistent. So పృథ్వీ నీ చిత్రం చూసి పాట విని నాకు మెసేజ్ చేశాడు, సినిమా ఎండింగ్ ఇద్దరు చచ్చిపోతారా. అండ్ హీ వాజ్
That's what even I thought. One reason why I was getting so nervous and I was getting so anxious as the movie progressed was I was like, please let it not be a tragedy. I don't want them to. I mean, everything need not be like a very classic tragic love story to make an impression and all that. Let them live their lives. I wanted them to live their life.
సో పృథ్వీ చాలా డిసప్పాయింటెడ్ చచ్చిపోలేదని లాస్ట్. నేను ప్రెడిక్ట్ చేశాను వాళ్ళు.
I mean, I was preparing myself so that and Shekar Kammula eppudu kuda he makes very cute and very comfortable films. So if he crosses that line and makes a film where you're making your audience uncomfortable, so అది చేస్తే ఆయన ఎలా చేయగలుగుతారని చూడాలనిపించింది, but sadly it did not happen.
That I don't know. It could have been a business driven decision as well. I mean, I'm sure both of you are aware that Vinay Thandi Varvaya had a different ending in Tamil, which was much more realistic than Ye Maya Chesave, right?
Right. They changed
Both
it.
had a different ending. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. The fact that Telugu film audiences like happy endings.
Strong female characters point lo kuda, and what do you think? Broche lo kuda, it's a very it is played very subtly kada. Whatever character Nivetha plays, the kidnap happens because it is her idea. So the story is driven by her, and at the end, she asks Sri Vishnu to come and help her, but again ఆయన చెప్తాడు, you should fight your own battle, and ఇక్కడ వరకు నువ్వే వచ్చావు, so you should get out of this on your own అని. సో అంత సటిల్ గా ప్లే చేయడం అనేది, do you think people will get it? అంటే తను కూడా స్ట్రాంగ్ క్యారెక్టర్ అని.
I think they got it right, which is why the film is being appreciated and watched over and over. I watched it in Prasad's on a Sunday, because a colleague of mine had reviewed it. I did not review Brocheva Revarura. I think Kalki also released on the same day.
Right. Yes.
So when there are two films or more than two releasing on the same day, sometimes we split our responsibilities. So Sunita Chaudhary, who freelances for us, she wrote Brocheva Revarura. But as someone who really was curious about Viveka Treya's writing and all that, I went and watched it on a Sunday, and I was so glad that people absolutely loved it. They were getting not only the jokes, even the final, climax and things like that. That was very nicely written. It was smartly written, and it was in a way saying that she came thus far, so she can go a little ahead and also convince her dad as to what she wants to do. It was nicely handled, so that you don't have like a male savior. I don't know if that was the intention. See, there's no harm in that, okay? Whether it's like a male savior or a female savior, you don't need to look at everything through that lens sometimes. Probably in this kind of a story, this worked because it's not like anything that the others did worked, right? Nothing helped to save her. She was the one who, got out of the situation on her own.
Right.
In the context of this film, this worked. Because when Dear Comrade came out, I remember a lot of people saying, oh, again, it's the male savior complex and things like that. I don't look at it that way for every film. In the context of Dear Comrade, at least, he was just instrumental in making her get her courage to fight her own battle, right? There are times when he says, unless you really want to open up and you, fight against something like this, or you want to open up and went out, it's not going to happen. And the drama actually ends only when she makes up her mind to come out with it.
Right.
He was an enabler, and the enabler could have been a male or a female. It doesn't matter. If you're going to sit on judgments like this, it's going to be so difficult to look at any story. It becomes really difficult. And what is life after all? For anybody going through such a situation, the help might come from a male or a female. So what?
Right.
I think the point, I mean, నాకైతే అనిపిస్తుంది ఏంటి అంటే వీఆర్ ఓవర్ ఓవర్ సెన్సిటైజింగ్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. సో ప్రతి దాంట్లో గుచ్చి చూడడం వల్ల ఐ థింక్ వీఆర్ నాట్ ఎంజాయింగ్ ఎంతైతే ఎంజాయ్ చేయాలో అంత ఎంజాయ్ చేయలేకపోతున్నాం ఇంకా.
True. Sometimes I feel this, I don't know if, a lot of critics will even agree with me and things like that. But the same, certain films that we watch, and then you ask your parents, ask your siblings whether they liked the film, they wouldn't have analyzed it so much. Unless it's like glaringly something is wrong, then they would definitely notice. But, they wouldn't really pinpoint loopholes the way we do. But they would have enjoyed a film. Sometimes you need to also look at the larger picture. What's the fun then? Why do you go to the cinemas?
Right. Agreed.
Right. So on that note,
if something is problematic, then yes, we do have to point out, but you don't need to be like that for every film, for every scene and things like that. Then there's no end to it.
Right. True.
So how are you looking forward? అంటే నేను చూసాను చాలా ట్వీట్స్, న్యూ ఏజ్ ఫిల్మ్ మేకర్స్, యు ఆర్ క్వైట్ ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్. సో how are you, and how do you predict the future of Telugu film?
No idea. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we as reviewers can even predict what will happen and all that.
I mean, okay.
And especially in this post-COVID world, we can't even call it post-COVID, right? Thanks to this new South African variant, nobody knows which way things will go. See, at the start of the pandemic, everybody said content-oriented web series and films only will do well. There was so much talk about content and all that. In fact, one of the leading producers, she, when she was talking to me, she said, everybody tells me content. I want to ask them, what is this content? Are we not dealing with content until now? But we all know what happened after the theaters reopened, right? So only everybody is waiting for the big movies to come so that the theaters will get filled up even on weekdays, and everyone is just waiting to see which way it will go. You never know. But I think, having been exposed to a lot of international and national films and shows, unless you tell a story properly, whether it's masala or whether it is whatever other genre that you choose, you have to tell the story properly. Otherwise, nobody's going to sit and watch it beyond the fan base. Nobody else will watch.
True.
Right.
True. Yeah.
సో
Uh,
ఎనీథింగ్ క్వశ్చన్ ఉందా?
mhm. Yeah.
యా సో తెలుగు ఫిల్మ్ ఇండస్ట్రీ ద మెయిన్ స్ట్రీమ్ సినిమా ఒక ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ద స్పెక్ట్రమ్ అనుకుంటే, గోయింగ్ టు ద అదర్ ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ స్పెక్ట్రమ్ దట్ ఈస్ ఇండిపెండెంట్ సినిమా. సో యూ హ్యాపెన్ టు వాచ్ శీష్మాల్ a week or 2 weeks ago. So anything on Rohit Shashi and the independent cinema in Telugu?
I think
I think it's
independent
a
scene
very
చాలా వీక్
small.
ఉంది అనుకుంటా.
It is
Yeah.
very weak, but yeah, it is getting there. But how was Shishmal, by the way?
I like Sheesh Mahal. I liked. See, it's not your regular kind of film. So if somebody is very habituated to mainstream cinema, then they would be like, okay, what's happening here and all that. But once you tell yourself that you're going in for a different experience and let me see what they have to show, you'll really start enjoying it. I like the fact that they creatively used a lot of footage which they shot during the opening ceremony and during the film festival, the Children's Film Festival in 2013.
Right.
It gets very creatively used to push the story forward. And there are multiple stories happening in Sheesh Mahal. Now we talk a lot about parallel stories, anthologies, and things like that. But it's nice that they started doing something like this. Of course, they went through a lot of ups and downs, and it took them so many years to complete the film and even have a few paid previews recently.
Right.
They are also hoping to release it in select theaters soon.
Oh, nice.
We are looking forward.
Yeah.
So
How did you
And,
get to know
Rohit-
about Shishmal and Rohit and Shashi? Like,
Okay, the first time I heard about Sheesh Mahal was through Vivek Sagar, when I had met him for an interview and when he was talking about a lot of his work. I had watched another, short film, or can I say documentary? Documentary. Dulpet Ganesha. Have you heard of that film?
right. I know. I've seen the trailer. I'll not say the
By Ananta Perumal.
Yes.
So, that film came to me, the director only got in touch with me and said, would you like to watch this film and all that? I was like, okay, what's this happening? Where is it going? And, it's like, it's fine. He's really reflecting what's happening in a certain area in Hyderabad during the festival, capturing the mood so beautifully. Beyond all that he was trying to say, the music really caught on to me. Okay, so I was like, that was one of the reasons for me to give it an extra attention and keep watching it. And then towards the end, I saw credits to Vivek Sagar.
Right.
So later, when I met Vivek Sagar, I think this was during Broche Varevaruda. So I mentioned about how I keep chancing upon Vivek Sagar's name in independent films more than once. And then that was the time when he spoke to me about Sheesh Mahal, and he said he's done all this as well.
Right.
And then recently, when they were doing previews, there a person who was handling marketing for them, she got in touch with me and she said, "Would you like to come and watch the film?"
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and I recently met Rohit and Sashi as well.
Okay.
This was just a couple of days ago. So they were, they're of course ecstatic that the film will soon get a theatrical release. Limited release is what they're looking at because it's like a different kind of a film. So they were of the opinion that, it's like a nice underground movement that they have. And a lot of aspiring directors, they're all very good friends of them and very big fans of their work. So
nice to know.
And apparently those aspiring directors, they go back and during their film discussions, story discussions, they kind of because of the influence that they have of independent cinema and all that, so they pick up fights with the regular folks. So Rohit was telling me that we are like an underground movement that is frowned upon.
Interesting. And already while I was talking to a week ago, like we are also big fans of Vivek Sagar, so we keep listening to his music, and we happened to have him on our podcast the other time for Raja Chora. So No, it's like it was like a fanboy moment for us when he came. Like, he doesn't talk much. I think you know that. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He's very quiet and very.
Very quiet, but I think people who have their eyes and ears to the ground are able to put forth much more, different and realistic work in whichever area that they choose. Vivek Sagar's is like that, right? I had the opportunity to visit his studio, and I was so captivated by all the street music instruments and all that I saw. I did not know the names of so many instruments over there. So I was like, even before the interview, I said, please, can I just look around the room and tell me what these instruments are and all that. And he likes, that kind of an area. It's not that everything has to come from Film Nagar and Jubilee Hills. And certain people are comfortable where they are, so that, they have their ground, their ears to the ground, eyes and ears to the ground. The same goes for Shekar Kammula, right? His office is out of Padmarao Nagar. So he is very comfortable writing there and just mingling with people. And I guess it shows in their stories over time also. There are people who have a approach, this way. And there are some people who like the comfort of what Film Nagar has to offer them.
Right. Yeah. I think their character reflects in their work in a way, or it talks for them in a way.
A certain kind of an individuality comes out, I think.
Right.
So you don't get influenced by trends that are happening. You tell a story, or you compose music that you want to do, that you feel is fresh, and you really let the craft come out from a space of reality and passion driven, than saying that this is what sells now, so let me do this.
I think Vivek Sagar is a sensation. I think people are just yet to discover what he has in him.
We have been scanning him from the start.
Oh, okay. He also composed for another independent film, which Ralalo Neeru Anesi. There's a film which is made by Kiranmai Indraganti, who is Indraganti Mohan Krishna's older sister.
Okay.
That's a lovely film as well. They had a preview a few months ago. The idea was to take it to film festivals and see how things shape up. Even that film has amazing music by Vivek Sagar.
I remember you tweeted about this film also.
Yeah, I did an interview with the director after watching the film.
Yeah, right. I remember.
Right. Yeah. I was saying that independent cinema gani, like independent music gani, they don't get published on platforms which have wider reach, or like, and publish cheyalannokute they have to be producers. There is a lot of things that go behind it. But yeah, and I put, for example, Shishmagal తీసుకున్నా కూడా, after so many years they are getting a release right now. They might have a release right now. So OTT space వచ్చిన తర్వాత చెప్పండి.
See that one reason could be because of the volume of work that's coming out from the independent circuit itself. It's not that everybody is doing great work, right? So you really have to filter, which means you need enormous amount of patience and manpower to go through everything and then filter what works and what doesn't work. That could also be a constraint. I'm talking from the perspective of someone who works in a mainstream media. We get a lot of requests for interviews and things like that from independent filmmakers or independent musicians. Honestly, very rarely we find really good work that needs to be put out. So sometimes you are just not able to accept requests because you might be like a very small team dealing with a whole bunch of deadlines. How much can you chew that you cannot take on, right?
Right. So from all the emails that you get, ours stood out, I guess, asking for a podcast.
No, it's not like I'm a celebrity who gets so many emails from people I don't know and all that. So. Sometimes there are people who agree with what I write. Sometimes there are people who don't agree with what I write. Agent Shai Srinivas Atreya. The only thing I wrote that the film could have been edited a little. It could have been a little more crisp. Okay, I think that's what I had written. I love the film. I really like the film, but I thought it could have been a little tighter. Right. Oh my God, how much backlash I got for that. It made me almost wonder whether all these mails are coming from people who are associated with the film itself, who are worked in different departments and who are like venting it out. I don't know, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you mentioned editing, so I think that is the most underrated or underappreciated aspect for a film, which which the people talk about or discuss about, even, be it film critics or the general audience. General audience, it is hard to talk about editing. I guess that is what I see.
even
But
for reviewers, how many reviewers really know the craft and
right,
all that, right? None of us
right,
are masters. We learn along the way, unless you're like really well read and you've watched a lot of the works of masters and you're able to connect things like that. I mean, I've in the last 1 week, I think I've read a lot of tweets about Manadu, the Tamil film, and how
yes,
how the editing is like top notch, and that itself is like so integral to the story. You don't get too many films like that, isn't it? So
right,
in other aspects, just saying something for the sake of it, sometimes also it does not add value. So I think it's better to even not discuss it than say something which is not appropriate.
right. Uh, I say this because a while ago, Marthan K. Venkatesh, he was at a film, some function. He was saying that he was not. I mean, we are that kind of technicians who who are ignored for most of the part, or who are not
Unsung
even cared
heroes.
for. Right. He used that word, I guess. Yeah. So this happens a lot, and sometimes there are film posters or first look posters where there is no mention of the editor on the poster itself. There is only the producer, director, and hardly the cinematographer, and the editor is most of the time cut out. Not right now. A while ago it was this case. So ante I just wanted to know your thoughts on this, ante, like it's not a question or
I think
something.
a film finally takes shape on the editor's table. So it's
Right,
so important to credit him.
right.
If you don't have a good editor, then you're done for.
Yeah, true. He has done a lot of films, I guess, like too many films in a year.
I mean, some of the young directors who are coming up now, they're also skilled in editing, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Right.
It could be partly because of course, they are trained in editing. They know what editing is about, and they handle dual responsibilities in their initial films because of budget constraints and other factors like that. I remember
Got
what Tarun Bhaskar once said. He said, rather than sticking to a very compartmentalized approach that, I am a director, so I'll do only this, and I'm a cinematographer, I'll do only this. Sometimes it's nice to shift responsibilities a little bit into different departments so that you get a hang of everything and you take the collective ownership of saying that we are doing this film together so that you're all in sync. That's the way some of them approach their work, and which is also good.
Right. Agreed. For this upcoming film,
Skylab.
Ponniyin Selvan first part. No. Ponniyin Selvan. For that film, I heard in some interviews saying that Srikar Prasad was involved in the writing process even before, like, while it started. So Maniratnam garu inka ina kuchoni, they were writing lone editor involved చేయడం వల్ల they found a lot of sync and for this film. I heard so. I'm not sure about it, but సినిమా చూసిన తర్వాత తెలుస్తుంది మనకి ఎలా ఉంటుందో.
I heard this from another director also just yesterday. Okay,
Yeah.
I met Vishwak Kanderao, who directed Skylab.
Right.
He had a similar opinion. One of the first drafts he wrote about Skylab had a slightly different story arc. But the editor who read the first, for initial drafts, he said that if you bring this big plot point at this point, after this, how are you going to sustain audience interest for another 2 hours? That might become like a huge challenge. So that made him rework the draft and, push a very crucial plot point of the news that Skylab is falling almost an hour later. It was initially drafted such that that news comes out in the first 15 minutes.
Okay.
So he
Interesting.
said that it was nice to get the editor involved in that process and take his inputs and then rethink how the story is going to shape up.
Interesting.
Right. So Skylab editor Ravi అనుకుంటా ఈ నగరానికి
Raviteja Girijala.
Raviteja Girijala.
యా సో నేను స్కైలాబ్ ప్రీ-రిలీజ్ ఈవెంట్ చూస్తుంటే దాంట్లో చెప్పారనమాట రవితేజ గిరిజాల అవుట్డిడ్ హిమ్సెల్ఫ్ ఇన్ దిస్ మూవీ. వెంకటేష్ మహా వీళ్ళందరూ చెప్తుండే యాక్చువల్లీ రవితేజ అవుట్డిడ్ హిస్ వర్క్ ప్రీవియస్ వర్క్స్ అని. యా
ఆయన వర్క్ చాలా బాగుంటుంది యాక్చువల్లీ.
యా
Yeah.
ఐ థింక్ అంతే కదా, ఇంకేం లేదు.
Yeah, I think we are mostly done, no?
యా
So, how was this session with us, ma'am? So,
I liked it. In fact, I just now saw the time and I was like, wow, okay, it's been so long. It didn't feel that long.
thank
The
you.
last session I had like this was on Clubhouse with Hemant, and I really didn't know how time flew. We
Okay.
both spoke for almost 1.5 hours, and then still there were some questions that we couldn't take, and we had to like wrap it up.
Okay, interesting. But Clubhouse is not recorded, right? So it's only that one-time thing.
Yeah, it's not recorded, and that was different. That was about how to do interviews and things like that.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this is the first time you're doing something like this on a podcast, or?
As a podcast, yes, this is the first time.
అలా మా ఈ ఎపిసోడ్ ఎండ్కి వచ్చేసింది. ఇక్కడి వరకు విన్నందుకు చాలా చాలా థ్యాంక్స్. సో ఒకవేళ మీకు ఎపిసోడ్ నచ్చినట్టయితే యూ నో వాట్ టు డూ. సో యా, యాజ్ ఆల్వేస్ విల్ మీట్ యూ ఇన్ ద నెక్స్ట్ ఎపిసోడ్. అంతవరకు అందరికీ నమస్కారం.